Good morning. Doing a little bit of sewing today. Thought I'd let you in on some of it. Making a pillow out of a piece that a friend of mine cross-stitched for me. There's the piece. So first I've measured, I don't know if you can see the yellow, but I've measured a 1/2 inch of yellow all the way around. First I do a little bit past the length of the yellow line, and I made a very, very small seam right there because it really doesn't matter in my opinion. So I sewed this one on here, this one on here, because I made it the length of my yellow markings from here to here. Now I'm going to iron that. This is a cross stitch piece, and I don't mind ironing over, I don't mind ironing over the top of it. It's okay. So there's that. And then the piece is a little wonky, so I want to sort of mess with the piece a little bit and make it square. Sometimes you have to pull on things a little bit, then iron a little and pull. When there's this many stitches on a piece, sometimes it has a tendency to not be square, and that's okay. You can fix it. Here's my other piece. I've already put the yellow lines. So I'm just going to measure this with the yellow line that I drew, and I'm going to sew that on both sides all the way to this end. See, I sewed those on, iron them out this way. Now here's my yellow line. I'm going to line up my new piece, give myself a little room to go past so I can cut it, make it look perfect when I'm done. I always leave a little room to cut. I'm going to be sure I iron this piece right here. Now see, you got to see what my, this right here is on my ironing board, because that's what I had to take out to figure out how to match up everything. I'm going to iron this piece like this. I'm going to go over to the sewing machine. Oh, I need to cut it. I'm going to cut it to fit, make sure I have enough. There is right sides together, so there is that piece and that piece. Let's see, do I have enough? I do, I have enough, so I'm just going to cut this in half right here. Right sides together like this. Don't do it like this. Don't do it like that, because then it'll fold over to the inside. No, you want to do it like this, right sides together, and I'll sew that. So I'll be right back. I have my walking foot on my sewing machine from yesterday. I sewed a quilt on, but I really don't care. So, and the width of this it's going to be a little bit less than a 1/4 inch because of the foot I have on my sewing machine. Probably should pin it, but y'all, I'm not a pinning kind of girl. I have set my stitch length to 20 instead of 24, which is what it usually is, because I'm sewing on cross-stitch fabric. This looks like about 20, 14 count, 18 count, maybe, it's not 14 count Aida, it's probably 20 something count Aida. Now, I would recommend pinning for most people, but I'm not a good girl about pinning. So there's that, and now I'm going to sew on this piece. So I'm going to lay it there. I cut it a little bit longer. Now this piece is kind of wonky looking. I'm going to pull on it a little bit. It's kind of curvish. I don't want a curved piece of fabric. So I'm gonna put that there. There. All right. Go down here. Again, I suggest pinning. I don't often do what I say. This is a Juki sewing machine. So let's see what we're doing here. All right. I'm gonna iron this. So here's what it looks like. Okay. I'm gonna iron everything, trim off everything to where it looks all pretty. And then I may go back in here. I'll show you what I'm gonna do in a minute. Hey, I'm back. Cut everything. So it's real pretty. There's something weird on there. Okay. Now I left the cross stitch fabric, which is thick. I left it on there because I wanted some stability. But you see, just past here, this has no stability. So what I want to do is find some heat and bond. I have this box right here that has my heat and bond. See, it says right there, batting, heat and bond, iron on. This batting has nothing on this side, it's just soft, but on this side, I don't know if you can see, but it has glue. So I'm going to find a piece of this. I could put iron-on interfacing on this too, but I'm not. So I need to find a piece of this that'll fit. Glue side down. Now, you want to cut this, you want to cut this before you iron it. Because if I tried to iron it on right now, I may iron on a little bit of it. If I tried to iron it on right now and my iron were to touch the glue, that would be really bad. So what I'm gonna do is, because I'm gonna have a little seam on my pillow, you know, like a little seam like a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch. What I want to do is make sure this heat and bond allows for a seam, because I don't want that. I don't know where y'all are. Where are y'all? You're over there. I don't want the heat and bond to go all the way to the edge, because then my seams will be super stiff. So I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is let it kind of hang over the edge a little bit. Hang over the edge, maybe a 1/4, maybe a 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch might be better. And then I'm going to cut it. Okay, so I've let it hang over a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch here. Now I don't want to cut it right here because it won't be enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go another 1/2 inch this way and another 1/2 inch this way, and now I can cut it right down here and then move it over. And I want to cut on my fabric. By the way, these are Ginger scissors, best scissors in my opinion. Don't let anybody cut paper with them. Okay. So remember, I moved it that way and that way. Now I'm going to put the heat and bond right in the middle, and then see if I left enough room. So see right there, that's enough room. That's a 1/4 inch. But I really don't have a 1/4 inch. Well, like I want on the other side, so I need to cut a little, I need to just cut a little bit more. Normally, I mean, I don't know, I should be measuring. I'm just gonna cut a little bit more. This is not, I mean, this is a little pillow. This is not a quilt. This is a little pillow that's gonna go on my couch. Things don't have to be precise. If you are a perfectionist, I will drive you nuts. Okay, now it's like I want it. So, I am going to turn the steam off. You're not supposed to use steam when you do this. I don't know why, but you're not. And then I just hold it down. Boring. I love little pillows like this. I don't know what fabric this is. This is a Jelly Roll scrap. I'm certain I got it from Fat Quarter Shop. It looks a lot like Camille or Bonnie and Camille, maybe, when Bonnie was still... Is it Bonnie or Camille who retired? I think Bonnie retired. Bonnie is Camille's mom. I think this is Bonnie and Camille. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you just have to hold it down. And while I'm doing this, I need to think about a backing. The Bonnie and Camille that I have. Now, this is the front of it. So I'm just going to be real careful. I'm going to go around the sides. Not necessarily on the piece right now. I just want to be real careful. And I know some of y'all are like, okay, you're using heat and bond, but you have a Aida cloth back there and it has little holes in it. That's not going to matter. That won't matter. The holes are so small. This is not like 14 count Aida, so the holes are way smaller. And if you're wondering what Aida is a type of cloth that people cross stitch on. So if you watch my Instagram, yesterday I finally finished my COVID quilt. I bound it on a machine bound it, so that didn't take very long. I recorded it on my computer, and then I went to play it back and there's no sound. I went through all the troubleshooting things, and I tell you, computers makes me mad. I may put a little charm on this. Think about putting a little charm on this pillow, like a little bird, or I don't know, some kind of little charm. Now would be the time to sew it on. Okay, let's see if it's sticking. Oh yeah. Okay, so there it is, and now it's pretty firm. That's a pretty firm pillow. It's not going to be squishy mushy. I'm just going to iron it a little bit more, and then I've got to decide the backing fabric. Pardon my arm. The backing fabric I want to use. I have this Riley Blake. What does it say? I think this is Lori Holt. If you look on the edge, you can see. I think it's Stitch. Riley Blake Designs. Sure, it's Lori Holt. So I've got to find a backing, and I want the backing to be cutesy, and it's got to match this. So here's my fabrics. Now I like, this is really bright. I like this would be great because this matches that part of it. Remember, it's the back of the pillow, so it doesn't matter. And I like this because it looks like cross stitch. So that's a contender. That's a contender. I'll lay it down there. Let's look at some other contenders here. There's a little bit of green in here. That's too green. It matches, but it's too green. Gray, there's no gray. There is a little brown. There is a little brown. That's too brown. I think I've already found one. Now notice, that did not take me long. You should not take an hour to pick out something that's, you should take hours to pick out quilt fabric. But for a pillow, I'm happy with that. It matches something on the front. It's going to be on the back. No one cares. So I'm going to iron this right here. And I'm going to sew it on the back. And then I'm going to take some old batting, cut it up into little pieces. If you watch Karen Brown, Just Get It Done Quilts, she cuts up her old batting and uses it to stuff pillows, and I think that's a fantastic idea. Now here's what I'll do though. What I'm going to have to do is, if I'm going to use old batting scraps for this pillow, then I am going to have to put a heat and bond or an iron-on interfacing on the back. Why do I do that, you ask? Well, because, boy, this is not coming out. This crease is not coming out. I'm going to have to put some water. I'll have to put some water on that. Do I have any water? I'll go get some water and iron this crease out. But the reason I want to put iron-on interfacing on the back of this is if I use batting scraps, they're kind of lumpy. So if I coat the back of this with some iron-on interfacing, I've got some in here. Let's see. I want interfacing that only has glue on one side. I have a lot of interfacing in here that has glue on two sides, which is not good because that's for applique. That looks perfect. This is nice and thick. It's not as thick as what I put on the other thing, and it looks like about the right size. Let's test the size. It's absolutely perfect. But I'm going to pause the video and go get some water so that I can iron these creases out of here. Be right back. I ironed on the interfacing like that. So there's my top piece. There's my bottom piece. And you know how I didn't pin before? Well, this time I am. These are little clippies. They're called Wonder Clips. You can get them just about anywhere. I get mine on Back Quarter Shop. Back Quarter Shop is a place I like to get my fabric. We have a local place, but I'm not going to comment. I'd like to, but I don't have anything good to say. Don't say anything at all, right? I don't need a whole lot of these because the interfacing made it pretty thick. So I'm going to see Kathy, the person who stitched this. I'm going to see her. Now, granted, she did not stitch it for me. She had it and I don't think cross stitches anymore, and she just wanted to give it to me. It wasn't completely finished, but it looked finished enough to me. I'm going to see her Thursday. We have a Bible study at our church called Precepts, and I'm going to start that this week. So I need to go back and look and see where the top and the bottom is. That is the top. I like to leave a hole at the bottom, not at the top, because it's less noticeable. What I will probably do on this is add some rickrack or something that'll probably cover up, but I can blind stitch the hole. So I'm going to mark off, well, I could just do it with this. stitching with purple earlier. I'm gonna leave 2 pins where I'm going to leave a hole right here. So what I'll do is I'll back stitch right here to make that strong. Back stitch means you go forward and backwards to just make it strong. And back stitch right there, and that's where I feel like, come to think of it, that hole looks a little too small. All right, I'm going to start here. I'm going to sew around. Let me see what kind of, I think I'll make a half-inch seam. Words. All right, so here I go. It was set on 20. I'm going to put it back on 24 because I have 2 layers of interfacing. It doesn't need to be, the stitches don't need to be closer. This right here is just a reverse stitch to strengthen that ending right there. When I get to the edge, I take it, I twist it, and if I've gone too far, I just will back up a little with my needle, line it up again so I'm perfect. And I like to strengthen my corners by a couple of stitches. Again, the foot I have on here is a walking foot, which is good for quilts so that they don't slip around. That's probably not a bad thing for this either. Normally I wouldn't do it, but it was already on my sewing machine, so there you go. Okay, I'm coming toward the end. Does that look good? Nope, I can go another stitch. There we go. Strengthen the corner. Now let my needle go down. I turn it to see if this edge is on this edge, and it isn't, so I know I can go one more. I'll go like that. My needle is set to stay in the fabric when I stop. This little button right here, you can set it to lift the needle up or down. But if I have it in, then I can swivel the fabric and make sure I'm at the proper place in the corner. Now if you notice here, my pieces don't even up. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm like, this backing piece is like 1/8 of an inch smaller than the top piece. I'm gonna go by the measurements of the top piece, so I'm gonna keep my edge where the top piece is. It just means that things have slipped a little, or I just wasn't perfect in my cutting, and that's fine. That's the top piece I'm going by. So I'm getting to my corner, so I lift up. It's not quite to the edge, so I know I can go probably one more stitch. Nope, one more. There we go. No, I don't like that. I'm gonna go back one, so I'm gonna hit this. Oops, that's not what I meant to hit. That was just a mess of stitches. Sometimes you mess up, you know? Okay. Now I'm gonna sew to right here. So I can see this pen mark, or I'll just keep my finger there. It's not that important. So I'm gonna sew to right here. Back up, go forward. So I've sewn all the way around. And now what I'm going to do is go to each one of these corners. And when you are sewing around corners, to keep it from looking bulky and to make it able to kind of come to the best point possible, you clip this little edge right down to the stitches. I know it's a little scary. It's okay. It's okay. And sometimes people clip this edge with pinking shears. I'm not doing that. There's that. There's that. I keep these scissors tied to my sewing machine because I'm always hunting for scissors, so I just keep them tied there. Now I'm going to flip this inside out. I'm going to look around and make sure things look okay. Flip it inside out. This takes a minute. I just thought of something funny. I was thinking, what does flipping things inside out and sewing relate to? And I thought, you know what this is like? This is like trying to put a wet bathing suit on a toddler when you flip things out. Now see, I'm poking the corners out, and I have a little tool for that. See how it's not real pointy? I have a tool I can use. Now there's all kinds of tools, but let me see if I can get to my tool. Okay, I think I can get to it. This is a, what's it called? FlamingoToes.com. I use it as a flipping tool. I think that's what it's for. This end I use when I'm hot gluing things, so I don't have to touch hot glue. You're not supposed to do that with this, okay? Anyway, this is my flipping tool. Flamingo Toes. This came in I used to have a subscription for a sewing box from Fat Quarter Shop, and this came in one of the sewing boxes. So there's the point. It's not perfect, but if I push any harder, I'm afraid this will come on the outside. So like, here's what that one looks like. Now let's use the little tool. And just kind of go back behind. There we go. There we go. So now it looks okay. You see that? That's two corners. I have two more. Here's one. Here's one. So I don't know how long this took, but I don't know, about start to finish, a couple of hours probably. Now, there's my pillow. Can you see it? There's my pillow, front, back, nice neutral back. I like the back too because the flowers go right side up and upside down. So that way you don't have to worry about directional fabric. That's fabric that you sew and then you make a boo-boo and it looks upside down. I'm going to get my batting, stuff it, and then what I'm going to do at the end, first I'm going to iron this. After I stuff it, I'm going to iron this closed kind of like that, and then I'm going to do a blind stitch there.